Hey everyone, Tony here again. Wanted to take a look at the S&P. Figured that was the uh, the most appropriate one because everything is going down. So now that actually we're here on Market Watch, so might as well take a look. But we can see that the common theme is the coronavirus, COVID-19. So that's fun. So yeah, I mean that's there's nothing else to say. It's we are having a pullback. It's being blamed on coronavirus, whether you want to believe it or not, whether you're a conspiracy theorist, tin hat, whatever you want to call yourself. It looks like that's the main reason. Now, if it's legit that it's coronavirus, then it probably is because I think Korea now is one of the main has a an outbreak there. Italy has had an outbreak. I think now in the U.S. we have not an outbreak, but there are some cases here. Brazil has had some cases. It's basically all over the place now. From what I understand, it's not. I mean, it's obviously deadly, but it's not. I think over the last month, there have been 900 deaths. So some people argue that it's not truly a pandemic. I don't know. I guess I'm going to leave that one alone because I don't, there's not much to say from, at least I don't have much of opinion on that. That's what it is. So if you want to wear your conspiracy tin hat, um, stock market has been going up for a decade. So this is a good reason for things to pull back, right? Kind of makes sense. Um, it's kind of like Disney. It's funny. Let me see what's going on with that. But Disney did a clever move, in my opinion, and I even tweeted about it. Where let me see if I can pull it up here. Um, they so Bob Iger, I think that's how you say his name. Bob Iger stepped down, and another Bob. Let me see, Disney CEO steps down, whatever you want to call it. Might as well resign, right? But he's still on the board, I believe. So 2 days ago, was it 2 days ago already? Oh. Bob Iger to step down as Disney CEO effective immediately. So Disney announced Tuesday that CEO Bob Iger, now mind you, 2 days ago was already kind of the genesis of this dump. So news like Bob Iger stepping down and anybody else stepping in is pretty big news. It would have most likely have caused this or worse. But it's perfect timing, if you ask me. If I'm Disney and I'm Bob Iger and I'm looking for the perfect time to step down to have to not really affect stock, or if it does affect stock, you can blame it on something else, coronavirus. This is the time. So it's kind of brilliant, if you ask me. They kind of used it. They jujitsu'd that move. So yeah, that was clever. I thought that was interesting because if that's what you had in mind all along, then that was excellently executed. Excellently executed. Another day I can't speak. So now looking at Disney, not looking too shabby. It broke below the 20 EMA on the monthly. Definitely not good, but it's going to probably find support here on the 50. And let me see if I pull up Fibonacci. It's funny, I was looking at the S&P only, but hey, why not? So there we go. So that's above the 38.2. So this is nothing out of this. It's just a healthy pullback from what I can see here. Let me add the 23.6 just to see if it adds confluence to the no, not to the 50. So yeah, I don't see it. I mean, most likely will it, if things keep going, I would expect for support to be here at the 50, so at $113, $115. And if it breaks below that, I would see, actually there's some horizontals here that might give it some confluence with the 50. So I would argue that this is a good point there, just above that. And I think that would be the main one for me on a monthly. So yeah, so I would see that's at 115 level. Yeah, so between 113 and 115, if it keeps dropping, which it looks like it might hit, I think that would be first level of support there. If it breaks down, then 38.2 is an obvious another support. And then if it breaks below that, the 50%, it lines up nicely with this horizontal. So yeah, I mean, that's what Fibonacci's are, right? Fibonacci's are just support and resistance. So we're looking at a confluence there. So this Fibonacci lines up very nicely. And then the 61.8 lines up very, very nicely with the 200 EMA, which is this purple line on the monthly. So yeah, without diving too deep into it. Now, do we have anything? So you know what? We had a, let me draw a, so we actually had higher highs in price, you can see in this red line, and then we had lower highs in the RSI and the stochastic on the monthly, which is huge. Do you want, what came first, coronavirus or the RSI divergence, bearish divergence? I don't know. That's up to you to decide, but at least that gave some confluence there. Very nice confluence, actually, too. Not confluence, but just perfectly timed. That was just it was a peak, perfect time to pull out of the trade, resign as a CEO, etc. But yeah, most likely coronavirus. It's just that happens to line up nicely there on the monthly. So yeah, so without diving too crazy into that's the gist of it. I'm looking at a pullback between 15 to 13. If it breaks that, most likely 105. If it breaks that, then this horizontal, which lines up with the 50% level. And if it breaks that, which, could starts to get a little scary there, but still not bearish per se. I mean, it's definitely bearish, but not doomsday bearish, because we would still be above the 61.8. If we can bounce off the 61.8 with that 200 EMA, to me, it's just a healthy retracement, long overdue. So let me just draw some of these suckers, see if there's any. Not really. Well, we did have that there. We broke past, but nothing too crazy. I think most likely you'll see it better if we went log. So sure enough. So I would use this trend line for additional confluence. So I think it's going to be pretty challenging to break this horizontal for the fact that there's a horizontal, there's a trend line, and we have the 50 MA. So we have these support levels that, depending how bad the market reacts in the next couple of days, weeks, we'll have to see. I mean, this is a monthly chart, so it's going to take some time for that to be tested. I mean, as it is, this is an insane move, right? I mean, we're looking at approximately a 25% drop in a month, and really a couple of days if you think about it. So, yeah, I mean, I expect to see a bounce off of these levels, maybe around, the 115 level. I really do think that the 115, 118 level, I so far historically, Disney has found support at that trend line. So, yeah, I think we're going to bounce off of there and then see what happens. And then depending how devastating this coronavirus really is, then if we see a close, because we haven't closed, we've had tails down when found support at the 50, which I suspect is probably what's going to happen here. We're going to probably break briefly below, touch the 50 EMA at $13, $14, and then likely bounce up. If it does close on a monthly below the trend line, then I'd be a little bit more stressed and be looking at the 105, between 90 and 105. That would be my next target. So anyways, that is Disney. Let's go to the SPY. So S&P 500. So these are some previous drawings that I had. So let me see what I was doing there. Most likely on a weekly or a daily. Probably on a weekly. So you can see actually this hit, not because I'm a genius, but because Fibonacci's and technical analysis, there's something to it. This is my perspective, my point of view. So on a weekly, broke below that, and now we're testing the broke below the 50. So we have to see what happens there. Is that going to be just well, it's like falling before our eyes. I suspect a test of the 38.2 and then bouncing above that. And if not, then let me see here. The volume profile is throwing a horizontal. But this is actually where the horizontal would truly be in my perspective. Actually, I think it had it, right? So yeah, that's the beauty of a volume profile. So volume profile is going to find basically the level of, well, that's the point of control, the red line. So it's going to give you the, based on volume on these certain bars, I would have to make its own video, but long story short, it's going to highlight that red line as a point of control. It's going to highlight the most, the area of volume. And when you find confluence, I'm getting stuck here, jeez. Sorry, I'm looking at price and I can't multitask very well. When you find confluence with the point of control, which is essentially a support and resistance level, lining up nicely with another horizontal, that's when you know you have something pretty good. So yeah, so we have this horizontal. So if it doesn't, and it looks like we're testing, this might happen before our very eyes, people. Sure enough, it's going there. So let's see, real time. I believe, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I believe or not. It's just, it is what it is. If we're going to find support here at the 38.2 and bounce up, which is basically that $300 level. What price are we at now? 29. Oh, 299. We broke below. So most likely we're going to be the 298, bounce up. If we bust through that 382, which I would be surprised on, because if you really think about it, this is another level of support up here. Now, this one is less tested, but still, in my eyes, it's valid. It's on a monthly. So we're looking at this little zone between that 302 and 302 and what is this horizontal? 292. So that little zone, though, let me see if I can do a little square. Making the chart super ugly, but so that little order zone, order blocks, a bunch of people call it a bunch of different things, but basically the area between a tight two horizontals that are pretty close together, especially within consolidation, that area is, some people call it an order zone or order block, whatever. It doesn't really matter as long as it's respected. I'm not a fan of calling everything. There's so many names out there for technical analysis for things. It gets overwhelming, and at the end of the day, what you need to know is just what it does, and it's just an area of previous consolidation that most likely will get tested. So we see that it's tested. Did it touch the 38.2? Let me see. 38.2 is 298.85, and this low is 299.35. Let's see, 299. I feel like we're charting live, everyone. Charting live. I'm obsessed with this now. Jeez, it's ruining the video. But it's kind of cool that you see I previously marked this area as most likely a support and a resistance. If it breaks past that, there are some horizontals here that I suspect will be respected, like that the 50% level. That seems like a good spot. But really, I'm looking more for the 61.8. I think if it does break below this, there's some support and resistance along the way, but I think it'll likely go to the 61.8. I thought this was going to take a little bit longer because we're on the weekly, so this 200 EMA is going to take some time to crawl up to the 61.8, and the faster this goes down, the slower the EMA is going to go up, the 200. So let's see how that plays out, but if anything, that area between the 61.8 and the 786 is always a buyback zone. So yeah, so we can see. So long story short, if we break past all these supports, the final line, the line in the sand, the last, whatever you want to call it, is here at the 78.6. That's actually what they call it, the line in the sand, I believe, where I learned how to do some technical trading. Shout out to the Rational Investor with Brian Beamish and crew. They know their stuff. The 78.6 is the last line of defense. And I suppose I just can't imagine it going that far, that fast. But if it does break below that, it's going to find support here at this trend line. And if it breaks below that, then yeah, that could get a little hairy because that's been support since 2011, y'all. So yeah, kind of scary. But now granted, this could have been drawn a little bit better now that I'm looking at it. Where are my tools? So let's see if we have a better line. It's not perfect. That's the thing with these trend lines. I mean, there are, I don't like to force it to meet my demands, but I like this one. It has 1, 2, 3, and almost a 4th touch there. So in my eyes, this one's valid. So yeah, that's basically it. It's just a crazy, and again, this is all fundamental. So any news is going to trump fundamental news. But now that we hit this 38.2, most likely if we keep going, so I suspect technically what should happen is we have a bounce off of there. And then, but this coronavirus event is so crazy that, you can't guess what's going to happen here. If we do bounce off of here and we get some good news, like let's say we find a vaccine, let's say we find it's not as bad as they think, it's just a very severe cold, which I think some people said here. I should have had this pulled up, but I saw an article saying that it wasn't as devastating. Again, I don't want to. People are dying from it, so how can you not call that? Oh, it touched it! It touched it! Woo! 280, 298. Yeah, broke just slightly below it. So as we are recording, it actually touched it. So now this is actually kind of interesting because what's going to happen? We're actually 2 minutes before the close of the day. So let's see. And you know what? Let me go into the 5-minute here. It's where this is crack addicts mode. So that 38.2 is right here. Yeah, so the market's dumping towards the end of the day. It's going to be interesting tomorrow. Ooh, there it goes. There it goes. Crying blood. Jeez. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I don't want to do some empty little chat here. I'm fascinated by this stuff. I'm sorry. Anyways, to not delay you, Yeah, we have to see how this reacts. Let me go into the daily so it's a little bit clearer. It's like a little bloody waterfall. It's terrible. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Will we bounce off? Technically I would expect a bounce of the 38.2. But who knows? Maybe it'll go down here and test the 292 region. It looks like it's on its way. We're closing in 30 seconds actually. And then I'm kind of curious to see what the futures does. But yeah, long story short, support at 292. It looks like it's, well, between 298, between 300 and 290, let's say, that little zone there. And then if it breaks below that, yeah, there are some areas of support here. Like, let's say maybe this could be considered a horizontal here. Basically the 50% level at the 286. But I suspect that if it does break down that quickly, that it would break down below the 50 and test the 61.8. That's just my best guess. And then there is kind of interesting because we do have a horizontal, and we have to see what happens with this horizontal up here at the 292, and then with this horizontal. Well, if it breaks that, see how it reacts around the 50. So kind of like see how. So we're currently here. See how it bounces here, and then here. And if it doesn't respect that, see what happens there. Because now, you know, these little different actions, price actions, are going to be interesting to my point of view. Anyways, I don't want to ramble on. This is it's I know a lot of people are finding this horrible, and I apologize if I sound like I'm happy or I'm not happy. I'm a fan of the markets, and I like how I'm interested, no matter if it goes up, down, left, right. I just like seeing what happens and seeing how, drawing the technical part of it, how everything reacts and how price reacts to levels. Does it respect it? Does it not respect it? And to me, it's just history. It's like history being made in front of my face. So I just fascinated by it. So that's why I apologize today, being a little bit kind of like obsessed. Look at this particular price action here that now just it keeps going down. So yeah, I think that, well, it's already closed. So you know what? Let's hop on over to. I know I shouldn't keep recording, but hey, hopefully you find this as fun as I. So let's look at the ES. Let's go ES1 exclamation point. So these are the E-mini futures. Let's draw that Fibonacci again. I believe it goes from there to there. Was it? Let me see. What is this swing low? Swing low is at 233.76, 339. 233, 339. Oh, excuse me. Had a late lunch. It's coming back. So 233, 339. Yeah, obviously it's going to be off, but so it's kind of interesting. So I wonder if it's going to respect the futures, which it should. Futures, I from my experience, does get respected more. So yeah, let's see. I wonder if SPX is the same levels. Hopefully you're all enjoying the journey as I explore the S&P. If you don't like it, I apologize. You can tune out. So the SPX is actually in line with SPY. So I think price action is following the futures market at the moment. So let me go into a 2-day to get more price action here. And yeah, so we have some, yeah, so let's see if it goes to 284, which it looks like it's on its way. So is it going to bounce off of this level? I don't know. We'll find out. Learn something new. So futures, it's hard to say that it's a more respected industry or whatnot. I mean, everybody has their perspective, but it is. I mean, definitely it's more respected. Like if you're looking at something super volatile and new like Bitcoin, the futures contracts are way more respected. I mean, the charts are clear. It's just, but that's crypto. That's unregulated. I mean, that's probably the only really regulated market. I think I know there's options, but I'm not sure if they're already live. I think they are. But anyways, this is about the S&P. So yeah, it looks like it's gonna touch a 2984 level, and we'll see if it does that. Then obviously there's gonna be a gap tomorrow morning. We shall see this price action. Now the interesting part here is that the let me see. So this horizontal here. We do it off. Let me do it off the give or take. Again, this is not to be pinpoint accuracy. It's just a good region. So we can actually go based off of this low and actually this high to create that order block, order zone area, which we're in at the moment. And then this 50% level is a decent little one too. We can actually, well, it's already, yeah, I guess, might as well. There, and then we shall just see, and then the 61.8 level is automatically another level. We could do, probably this would be a decent little level. Yeah, you can go crazy drawing these things, so that's why I kind of like drawing the horizontals more on a weekly. Kind of gives me a better perspective. But yeah, the point is, let's just go back to the SPY and not mess with it any longer. If you're still tuned in, thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate you dealing with my ADDness, not ADDness, my obsessive compulsive behavior. I'm not diagnosed with it. I just joke that I have something similar. But yeah, so we'll see what happens here. I might do another one of these videos to follow up on what happens. And that is essentially it. So we saw Disney, we saw the S&P 500. I guess we can take a quick look at Bitcoin, since everybody claims that Bitcoin is uncorrelated to the market. But we shall see that if it was uncorrelated, we would not have the same sell-off, right? I don't see it. Why would we? If it's not correlated, why would we have the same sell-off? Now, here's an argument. We had essentially a hammerish, which is very bullish, but we shall see. Let me see if there's any divergence. I don't see. So on the daily, we have to see what happens. I think we might see a push up into the 9100s, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. These markets are so crazy, but I can see a test to the 9100, which would have the stochastic roll up a bit, but who knows? I can't. Let me go back to the S&P actually, because I don't think I saw the daily and the weekly on the RSI. Oops, there it is. Oops, there it is. Yeah, it's just by breaking this level. So I have this. Let me see if it's. I like it better from here, but it's pretty much accurate from there as well. You can even go here if you wanted to. So we have 1, 2, 3 touches, break, pull up, yeah, and then break down. So this action right here on the RSI on the daily, not pretty. This is not pretty. This is not something you want to see. If you were bullish, you'd want to see this come up and test this 50. It hasn't. Yeah, it's not looking very there's nothing bullish at the moment about this. The only remotely sort of bullishness here is that the stochastic is at a freaking 2. Is it? Is it even at 2? I think it's at a, yeah, it's at 2, which is low. Yeah, it's very low. So eventually, I mean, this could get pinned for a long time, but if it rolls over, then we'll test the midpoint and then, you know, get that pullback. But yeah, it's not looking very hot. So yeah, we'll see what the next couple of you know, of days brings us. So if you hadn't, I mean, it's too late now, I think. It's never too late. If you, well, you have to consult your financial advisor, see what they tell you. This could just be one of those things where coronavirus is having its issues, and then come next week, early next week, or in 2 weeks or something, well, we have the vaccine, we have this or that, and then boom, new all-time highs. We don't know. We just don't know, and it's all up in the air. So ideally, best case scenario up here, if you were bearish, the best thing would have probably been to have gone in some, to have bought some puts to protect yourself, especially if you have a big investment in the S&P 500. That would have protected you on the downside. You would have hedged there. But if you're in this now, the truth is that it's not bearish. I mean, it's bearish, but it's not doom and gloom. It's just a pullback. So we haven't even tested this horizontal. So I'm just curious to see what happens here. That's, you know, don't. It's hard. It's not, don't overreact, because this is not pretty at all. But it's also not, control your emotions, think about it, consult your professional. This is not terrible. I mean, really terrible would be if it breaks this trend line, which would be at the 256 region. But any bounce, even at this trend line and above, would still be, it's just a healthy retracement. And that's it. There's nothing else I can say. So I'm going to end it with that, because if not, I'm going to keep talking and rambling, and then this will be a 4-hour charting session, which I don't mind doing. So hopefully you found some value in this. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share with somebody you think might enjoy it. I was going to say share it with somebody you love. Share it with somebody you love. Screw it, why not? And yeah, hopefully you like this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.